who's going to be turning 26. They're almost a decade apart in terms of age.
Yeah, the cool thing about Nerchio as well, though, is like, yeah, he's 26, and that feels like he's a slightly older player by now. But, I mean, I've been casting Nerchio since 2011, and probably even 2010, when I think back of it, those early Go for StarCraft 2s. Back in the days, Nerchio, once upon a time, was a random player. He played all 3 races already at a very high level, and then one day he woke up and he said, I should be a Zerg. And I think that was a very wise decision, Ravi, because he's done tremendously well for himself over all these years. There's very few people who've been around longer than Nerchio and have played more tournaments than Nerchio. So let's get this party started as we are hopping into Dreamcatcher. Hopefully you guys are having a lovely Sunday. You're excited for maybe some World Cup action, but a lot of StarCraft as well. As over here on the left top side, we're looking in the main base of our young French Terran player. It's Clem.
Want to note is not sending out an early SCV, and we'll talk about that and kind of the tweets that have been going around lately.
Do you have some information for me about the win rate of 2 or 3 Rex in tournaments?
You know, it's actually so funny. I think that a lot of Zerg players have been tweeting about this, but one of the Zerg players who's been tweeting about this is this guy down here in the bottom right, the red Zerg player. He is Nerchio, representing good old Red Bull.
Now, an important disclaimer there is that Nerchio does tweet about a lot of things.
He does, and of course, this has been just almost a meme. And I'm so happy. You know, Roddy, I was wondering, I was sitting up last night, and I was kind of thinking, you know, who started the meme copy pasta about the 2 and 3 racks having such an exceptionally good win rate? So I finally looked it up. It was Hearthstone. It was the Protoss player Hearthstone that has started the meme.
I don't think he necessarily wanted it to be a meme. I think he just, like, Hearthstone is a fantastic Protoss player, obviously, and he's one of those top guys that we see. He's won tournaments in China, in Krefeld as well. But Hearthstone is also a very big StarCraft fan, and I always love seeing that, you know. When you see those guys that are very good, but they're not bitter about the game. They're not bitter about anything. Hearthstone is a fan of StarCraft, so he probably just sent out a genuine tweet, be like, man, this is not even my matchup, but it really feels like this strategy does well. And then obviously all the Zerg Twitter warriors will jump right on top
Roddy,
of that.
I'm like 50% with you and 50% against you on this one, because as much as I agree with you, and I think that Hearthstone very much does love the game, Hearthstone is also a huge troll. And I can very much see him sending out that tweet and then telling all of his Zerg friends to retweet it or make the tweet also.
That is totally possible. I will not say that is not possible, but yeah. I think both ways are. It's just fun to see, though. I love guys like Hearthstone, where it's just like, yes, he's very good, but he also seems so into the game, and he really watches an insane amount of StarCraft. And so this is a nice little start for Clem, as he blocked that drones from morphing into a hatchery. This is something you mentioned yesterday, and you said the Europeans are not doing this, Ravi.
That's very true. You know, the Reaper getting the kill on that, of course, early drone is really, really annoying. It's not even just being able to delay it. The drone did get a chance to become an extractor and kind of buy some time. So Clem's going to be feeling really good. And at the same time, at the other side of the map, we do have the command center slowly getting picked away at, but the SCV does complete it. So the little Ling run by here from Nerchio, not quite as successful as it wanted to be. I don't think it really delayed the command center all that much either.
No, but it's obviously not a massive investment, right? Yeah. It's not like he's running around with 8 or 10 Zerglings here. He really wants to get an SCV, but that should not happen. That's one of those things where as a player you want to make damn sure it doesn't happen, because one SCV is not going to mean the end of the game, but that's going to be in your mind for at least a minute where you're like, oh my goodness, why did I just lose? Wow, that's a fast Roach Warren, isn't it?
Yeah, especially since you can see that third hatchery is still not come down. He's trying to make it now. The SCV is still there. The Reaper is going over toward that SCV, but has got a couple of Lings chasing it. And drone gets a kill on the SCV. He does plant down that third base. But yes, I do agree. This Roach Warren is pretty fast. And the fact that Clem sees a third hatchery may start to, I guess, hide the fact that this is going to be potentially a really aggressive play.
Yeah, but what is Nerchio going to do? Is he just going to make a bunch of roaches early on without lair, without roach speed, as this Reaper is actually just going to get picked off? Well, there we have it. There are 6 roaches, 7, 8, 9 roaches at this point. That's obviously a few more than, you know, the defensive roach that Zerg players like to get against a potential 4 or 6 Hellion drive-by. So now Nerchio is going to try to buy some time as well. Wow, this is a fast roll. This is actually going to be a cancel. There's not much, I think, that Nerchio can do about this.
Obviously, it'd be great if Nerchio finished up this third, but in a weird way, because these Marines and the Cyclone are on this side of the map and not killing off those Overlords that are right outside the main base, that's going to allow Nerchio some high ground vision back at home to use things like Roaches and Ravagers to knock down the supply depot wall in.
Clem has still no idea that Roaches are already marching towards his side of the map. He has absolutely no vision. Clem probably thinks like, damn, I'm on fire.
Yeah,
this is
it looks like he's playing really well today, but this is might start backfiring soon.
Yep, obviously Hellions are not going to do that well. These Hellions are going to leave the main, and this is the first time that Clem will be aware of what is actually happening here. And I wonder what he's going to do with his medevac. Of course, if he decides to drop with it, he's going to do an insane amount of damage, but Clem says, nope, I need those units at home. Now, above all, he needs to buy a lot of times and make sure he doesn't lose too many SCVs.
Oh, he's supply blocking. He does a supply drop. It frees up a little bit of supply to maybe get out some Marauders. I actually really like that decision, but the SCV is being pulled off the line. He needs to be able to clean this up, and more Lings starting to swarm on into the natural. Lots of SCVs going down. He doesn't have a third CC behind this either right now, Roddy. It's too early in the game for that. This might just be it. GG.
Damn.
Nerchio. Oh, brutally snatches away game one from Clem.
Yeah, that almost felt like the big brother picking on the little brother a little bit. It's like, yeah, I've heard you've been getting a little bit better, but I'm still big brother over here, and I will still put you in your place. It's unfortunate, because if you are Clem, you feel good about that start, you know?
Yeah.
You block the drone the first time, you pick it up with the Reaper, and these are all not game-ending moments, but these are these little things that do add up, and you're like, nice, starting WCS.
Keep the SCV alive. That was building the command center. You kill off those Lings without any problems. Like, everything is going so well. And then victory snatched away.
Yeah, there's no vision in the middle of the map at all. Did not spot the Roach Warren, which, you know, that is something that's kind of tough to really get eyes that deep into the Zerg natural, so we can forgive Clem about that. But yeah, you need to see what's happening in the middle of Dreamcatcher when there is such a direct path from your opponent towards your natural. And the first time he saw it is when Roaches were knocking on that front door, and yeah, that's often a little too late.
And not only that, but if you think about the fact that he sent out those 4 Marines and the Cyclone to go do the damage, and yes, he got a cancel on that hatchery, but if those units were back at home, there's like a few more units that are there to maybe make some defenses happen. Maybe you see some of that stuff because you're going out and killing the Overlord. You get to build a bunker for those Marines. The Cyclones do a lot of damage. I mean, there's so many things that could have gone better, but just didn't quite for Clem there.
You know, I have one rule in general when I play StarCraft, especially when you play against Zerg. And that is that if things feel like it's a little too easy, if it's too good to be true, then it usually is. And I think this was a pretty clear case of things are going way too good for Clem. How is he just getting a cancel on that hatchery with a couple of Marines and a Cyclone? That is not supposed to happen. I'm just going to let players know that we are ready.
We're going to Redshift for net game number 2.
It's a feisty, funky map. But yeah, just to go back on that real quick, I think that's a very important rule to in general, especially if you're Zerg or you're Terran. If things are too good to be true, they usually are. That means that something else is going on, because Nerchio is way too good. You're not going to slap Nerchio around with a Reaper and then, like, you know, you defend a couple Lings and you just get an easy cancel on that hatch. If that was a normal straight-up game where Nerchio's only building drones, you've pretty much won that game, because on this level, getting a cancel on that hatch is just massive. So I think Clem, the alarm bell should have gone off when he realized, like, wow, this is going way too good. I probably need to make sure that I won't die against something like an early Roach attack or a Ling Bane attack, whatever. Yeah. I think he just wasn't thinking about Roaches. He did have a very high Hellion count, maybe in case of a Ling Bane attack. But yeah, Roaches it was, and Hellions are not fantastic against Roaches.
All right, well, we're going to be moving into game number 2 here as we start up in the top left-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue, Terran player sitting down 1-0, but still looking for a comeback. It is Clem. Started playing StarCraft at the age of 10. Wow.
What did you do when you were the age of 10, Ravi?
I think I was probably still losing to level 6 computers in Super Smash Brothers.
Over here in the left bottom side of Redshift, a map we don't see super often, we're looking at the main base of our Polish Zerg. That's representing Red Bull, and he has taken a 1-0 lead for himself. It is Arthur, aka Nerchio, aka Block, aka Mr. Consistency. Even at Austin, man, like, if we think back of Austin, do we really think of Nerchio's run? No, nobody talks about Nerchio's run because it was just
expected, yeah.
And I say just in, like, maybe the most complimentary way possible. It was just another top 8 finish. It's almost normal for this guy.
Yeah, and even it was kind of a bit of a surprise because unfortunately he was sort of victim to Lambo's giant run and success to the semifinals. So it's a little bit rough for him, but overall, Nerchio still is very consistent and having some pretty good performances.
The fact that he took out Scarlet 3-0. Ooh, it's clicky.
Yeah,
it's clicky there. Those actually do hurt though. That's a lot of mining time.
Yeah, and for anyone else, I would say like nerves, but for Nerchio, I'm just like, yeah, okay. It kind of sucks. It hurts, but it happens.
Yeah. But yeah, that was obviously not a bad performance by him at Austin, making it into the quarterfinals. But like you said, all eyes were focused on that side of the bracket, at least on Lambo's fantastic run. And the fact that Nerchio, that's so weird to me. Like, how do you defeat Scarlet 3-0, but then lose against Lambo? Was it 3-0 or 3-1 maybe? But
Scarlet is really hit or miss sometimes, though.
But she's so good.
She is really good, but she's also... I'm saying this as probably one of the biggest Scarlet fanboys out there. Like, she's really good, but man, she's really hit or miss sometimes.
I still think that we're going to see very, very, very good things from Scarlet this year.
I hope so.
I have a lot of faith in that.
So Redshift, of course, I mentioned before, I was sort of surprised to see this because this is typically one of the maps that you don't really see make it out of the vetoes all that often. And this game, we actually have Clem, got to be careful with that Reaper, but he's going for, I believe, a 2-1-1 opening, which is way less common to see from Europeans, I think. You see it a lot in the Korean scene, but not as much from Europe.
Maybe he feels that this is a good map to move out, maybe even with like a 5-racks opening eventually, 2 tanks, something that Maru does quite often. Maybe he feels that he can get something done against the way that Nerchio plays. What I'm mostly curious about a couple of the ZVTs we see today, because we're going to see plenty of them, guys. We've got Uthermal versus Sort of coming up after this one, is how will these Terrans play? Are they going to be as almost passive, I would say, as the Terrans we saw yesterday in WCS and A Challenger? Or is this going to be a little bit more common where, you know, they have one goal and that is pick off as many drones as possible in the first few minutes of the game?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the drone count, but you definitely cannot play too passive with the 2-1-1 opening. The 2-1-1 opening, you're aiming to get out roughly 16 Marines, those 2 medevacs, you go across the map, you try and get some damage done, you follow it up with either tanks or more Marines and medevacs, and you just want to continue laying on that aggression. And this is a nice map for that kind of drop harassment. Clem is also very good at being aggressive, so we'll have to see how effective he can actually be there, sniping off an Overlord so far, but things will still be getting ramped up for Clem for a little bit.
Reaper is going to take a peek into the main base. Clem wants to make sure that this game he is actually aware of what's going on. Tries to get a, he knows where it is though. He could potentially come back and try to land another grenade there, but
yeah,
grenades don't do a lot of damage. So
if you can delay that as well, then the gold expansion that it seems like Nerchio is maybe thinking about taking a bit later on.
I mean, much later on.
Much later on.
I honestly, I said this before, Ravi, but the gold, it's a trap. Don't fall for it.
It is, but I see so many people fall for it. But you know, I think the other thing about it, to your point, is that you just want to have creep spread there because when the Marines start unloading over by the gold, that's kind of just like their safety area to get ready to move into the main base. And you just don't even want to give them that kind of space.
Now, Clem didn't see too much in the main. He didn't see the evolution chamber in the natural either, but normally you have to be quite happy going up against a style like this, because obviously the way that Nerchio is playing, this means that he's going to have very late baneling speed, and baneling speed is the ultimate answer against Marines that have stim very quickly. So I actually think on paper this is not bad at all for Clem.
And Nerchio's going to actually see the double medevacs make their way across the map. If he didn't know this was a 2-1-1 before, he definitely knows now. So where are his units going to be positioned? He moves them all over to the main base, including those queens, while the double marine drop goes after some overlords, just looking for some of that free damage.
Still no lair attack on the way, by the way. That really means that baneling speed is going to be very late. Of course, queens are good against marines and medevac in small numbers, as one scan does get thrown down, and in the end Clem will pick up all those creep tumors. So Nerchio has started his lair, but that means that this is going to be normally kind of an annoying phase in the game. The first push doesn't really do anything at all, as all 5 queens were in position. Those are the small things though, but those links spotting those 2 medevacs at the Zelnaga Watchtower, that is what allowed Nerchio to move all those queens into the main base.
Yep. Ooh, nice snipe off on another one of those creep tumors. That was a cute move from Nerchio as well, where he tries to get the queen over to the receding creep, get a creep tumor down before it completely disappears. And might end up using another scan here, but has to be so careful. One of those medevacs has lost a lot of its hit points, and a big part of the 2-1-1 that I know Zombie Grub loves talking about is that it's not so much about dealing massive and critical damage with the first 16 Marines. It's about dealing some damage, forcing out some units, and the follow-up, the next 2 medevacs, are what oftentimes get a lot of good damage done.
Well, we see the additional units marching to the other side of the map. There is a command center being thrown down, so it's not all out fire. Ooh! One medevac gets picked off by these queens. And that's sloppy, man, because if you want to make a push like this, if you truly want to make it as powerful as possible, you're going to need every single marine you can get your hands on. Lair is done, which means that bailing speed is now being researched almost immediately. That was a big loss for Clem. That was a really, really big loss because Nerchio already, of course, mining off all 3 bases. I showed you guys real quick. He's going up to 4 bases as well on the right bottom side of the map. That was a tough one.
Okay, now here we go. The Marines are now unloading into that gold base, and of course the creep spread does spot everything out, including those siege tanks. This is so important. How is Clem going to be able to engage this? The Banelings are only just now finishing up, but here we go. Here comes Nerchio, and he finds a little gap in the Marines. He gets on top of the Marines, he gets on top of the siege tanks, and those are all going to be going down.
Nerchio with so many units, so many Zerglings, quite a few Banelings as well. Of course, the queen count incredibly high. And this is not working out for Clem at all, man. If you will go for this build, you really want to be a little more successful. Look at Nerchio in the face of all of this. He cleaned this up and he's like, nice. That means I've got a little more freedom. He just fired up like 12 more drones. Oh my goodness. I feel like this game is spiraling out of control very quickly for little Clem.
Yeah, Clem has done an okay job trying to put on some pressure, but just none of it has really worked out the way that he wanted it to. And losing a lot of those units, Nerchio has just been able to get away with so much greed. And I agree, he's kind of just running away with the lead.
He's up 29 workers. I mean, that's ridiculous in an 8-minute game. Ooh, medevac's gonna fly over some banelings in the middle of the map. The first Hydras are out as well. That's kind of a cute move. Trading out Marines for single banes is obviously a good one for Clem. But I'm not feeling this. I really think that the Hydra Bane numbers are going to be absolutely insane. Now, of course, if you are defending as a Terran, it often becomes a little bit easier. You should be able to fight off creep, and maybe if your tanks are already sieged up in a good place, it's not going to be all that bad. But this is not the way that Clem wants to start this game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Redshift is a kind of deceptively narrow map in a lot of ways. Oh boy, the medevac getting very low on hit points right now. But this is the hard part about trying to put on any kind of drop pressure now on Redshift. The map is so narrow that you can see with creep spread and that zone like a watchtower, it is so difficult for Clem to ever get medevacs to the other side of the map without Nerchio having a decent amount of time to respond.
Clem throws down a scan. He's going to pick off a couple more creep tumors. He's going to spot all these queens in the Hydra, so there is not much he can do about that 5th base. And is he paying attention at home? There are tanks, though. These Banelings are a little bit clumped up. Clem, can you focus fire down these Banes? The answer is yes.
Oh, a couple more going into the middle line. He does focus those down as well, so
that was really good.
Yeah, really well handled there, but he still has to try and get something done with his force inside the main base of Nerchio. Are there any Banelings left over? No, all of them have been picked off, but the Hydras are still going to be a scary proposition. He's going to have to back up.
Yeah, that was not a successful attack for Nerchio at all, but at the same time, he created such a massive lead for himself that it was okay to try that. Why not go for it? And really, looking back at it, it makes you wonder, why didn't Nerchio send a couple Banelings via the right side here? This supply depot wall is not done yet. He could have easily get a couple of Banes from the right side and potentially connect with way more SCVs than he did in the end.
Clem maybe finding an opportunity here, at least sniping off an Overlord or two, softening up the hatchery, and pulling a lot of these units back on the defensive for a little bit. Clem is starting to find some ways he can get some damage done, but he has to be so careful with these units.
I mean, Hive is almost done, by the way. 10 minutes in, and it's not a Hive of a 62 drone economy, 4 base Zerg. Nope. 5th hatch is up, 6th hatch is on the way as well on the right bottom side. I like that Nerchio knows that the gold, it's a trap, Ravi. You don't take the gold.
I am also glad. I've seen so many Zerg players try and take that, and they always inevitably end up regretting it, but okay. We do have pretty good upgrades for Clem compared to Nerchio. Nerchio is starting to get up that +2 melee, is getting up the +3 armor, and the armor, the Carapace upgrade, is the more important one, arguably.
I'm actually happy to see Ultras here, because I think it makes a lot of sense against a Terran that doesn't have a single Marauder. It's pure Marine tank. This is a massive counterattack. The wall
the
is
supply
up.
depot! It's down, and the Lynx just come swarming on forward. They're in the 3rd, they're in the natural, and the army for Clem even has to pull back. His attack is abandoned. His +3 weapons gets denied, and this could not be going worse with this kind of start from Clem.
Yep, and I know it obviously looks like Nerchio's losing a lot of units as well, which is true, but those are mostly Zerglings. With the economy that Nerchio's had throughout this game, it is completely fine for him to lose links. Getting the E-base is massive, getting 15 SCVs is massive, and also forcing this entire army of Clem to turn around is incredibly massive, because guess what? you know, Ultras are going to be on the way soon. The Cavern is done. I don't think he started Chitinous Plating yet, but
No.
I mean, just Hydra Bane on creep, there's almost no way for Clem. I mean, yes, Clem's army is massive, but I don't know, man.
I think this is almost like the last push for Clem because he doesn't really have an answer to the Ultras, but if he can hit before Ultra's Cavern. Oh boy, there's the Blinded Cloud. The Siege Tanks are all gone for this fight. The Banelings find good connections.
Wow.
And that's going to be all she wrote. Nerchio with a 2-0 sweep on Clem, showing why he's named King Arthur.
Domination there. Absolute domination in the second game by Nerchio. I love those Blinding Clouds in the end. Of course, you can say like, oh, that was a mistake by Clem putting all his tanks together, which is true. But what I loved the most was the line of Blinding Clouds. It was one on the tanks, then one above it for the Marines, and then one more on top of it. So the Marines are like, so where do we go? Do we go all the way to the right or something?
Do we just abandon ship on this? Yeah, at that point, it's kind of over. But Nerchio, like you said, absolute domination there from Clem, or from Nerchio on Clem, I guess. And poor Clem, he has had a bit of a rough showing. I think last season in Challenger went 0-4. Austin went okay, but then not really quite as great as I think he would have liked with how much promise I think a lot of people have seen in Clem